Hey guys, this video is going to mean a lot to me today. I've played WoW for 19 years, and WoW PvP has always had a special place in my heart for a lot of my life. It's always been super fun playing WoW PvP because of like just how snappy everything is and how responsive everything is, how rapid and fast and just high octane WoW PvP has always been. And it's just so sad to see how far WoW PvP has fallen. I don't want this video to just like, I'm not doing this to just be negative about WoW. It's just facts. It's true that WoW PvP is basically dead right now. And it's mostly because of Blizzard. They've just allowed it to get this far. And I want to go over all of the reasons why it has died. Not all of these reasons are because of Blizzard, but most of them are. So to start off with, the number one thing on my list is the WoW token. So the WoW token it's kind of invalidated almost everything in WoW, because if you could just buy WoW gold with real life money, then you can buy basically anything in the game. There's like a few exceptions obviously, but like Gladiator you could buy a carry for, a mythic mount or something, or a mythic title you can buy a carry for. So the hardest things in the game that you can get, you know, besides like rank 1 titles or something, you could basically just buy in the game. And it's just so sad to see this happen. But with the WoW token, you can also buy things like consumables and your enchants and your crafted gear. And so it's not even just buying a carry, it's also you could buy cheaper things to allow you just to have an easier advantage. Rather that advantage be earlier in the season or just a stronger advantage overall. And then on top of that, whenever there's like class changes or class tuning and people are re-rolling the flavor of the month alts, people can gear those alts up faster, they can power level them, and it just allows people to be a lot more adaptive to the changes in WoW. I mean, when there are changes. The second thing on my list is the UI. So this would include things like the looking for group UI system and like the filters or the lack thereof. There are no filters in the UI system, and things like this just it doesn't really allow you to search for the classes you need for like a composition that you want to play or something, and they don't allow you to just quickly look at a list of people and, you know, just select the people that you want to play with. And also you can't get any information on that, like what spec they are, what rating they have, unless like you have an add-on or something. And it's ridiculous how far it's gotten to the point of like needing all of these add-ons and stuff, which leads me into my next point, add-ons and third-party websites, of just how ridiculous it is that you need all this shit in order to even do anything. So the add-ons and third-party websites are a huge part of this, I think. It's just so many of these add-ons are required. You need to have like weak ores, you have to have like Omni CD and Omnibar, and so many of these add-ons are just so mandatory because they let you know things like when your healer's CC'd, when you shouldn't use a certain button or ability, or when you need to, or when it's like super important to like dispel someone or to kick them. And it kind of just like tells you how to play the game. And like without all these add-ons, yeah, you could still get by if you're really good, but it's like you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. So it's like, why even bother? It really gatekeeps people from wanting to start PvP in the first place. And I think that's why this is so detrimental. It's not only affecting the people that are already engaging in WoW PvP, but it's affecting the people that want to try PvP. They just see this huge screen of shit going on, and nobody wants to deal with all that, so they just don't even try. They don't even bother. It's like, why would I want to like make an account for this third-party app to get this add-on that I need, or this list of add-ons that I need, and then I have to configure those add-ons to my class or to my spec, and it's just so much time investment to even like start that it just pushes a lot of people away. And then on top of that, the third-party websites that we need, like Drustvar, check PvP, arena logs to like check other people's ratings, to check like what they've done in the past, or stupid things like even seeing the rank 1 cutoffs. Like Blizzard, I think for season 1 it was like 1 week before the season ended, that's when they posted the rank 1 cutoffs. It's like we had to rely on third-party websites to even see when these rank 1 cutoffs are even going to be posted. It's just ridiculous, like how long it took for such important information to be posted. The other, I think, biggest point that's going to be on my list is that there's no incentives or reward structure. So say like everybody finally gets everything they need to start doing PvP. It's like, okay, well, what's the point? Like, why do I want to push rating? There's no like progressive system in place besides like a few things. Like there's like a tabard, an enchant, a transmog set, and if you pushed really hard in specifically 3v3, not 2v2, not RBG, not solo shuffle, specifically 3v3, then you can get gladiator. And if you push like to the top, you know, the best of the best, you can get rank 1. But other than that, there's like nothing else there to earn anything. There's no reward for hitting like a new bracket, or like when you hit like 1800 and you get a new symbol, and then you hit like 2000, 2100, you get a new symbol. You hit 2400, you get a new symbol. It's like when you hit 2400 and you can start to see like the numbers on your symbol on the gladiator icon. Like here, like if you had like the gladiator icon and you could see like your rank, and then you could like see that your rank continuously goes up the better you get. Like, I guess that's kind of an incentive, but it's not a very good one. There's nothing to reward you for doing good in the game, and it just feels really shitty. It makes people like ask themselves like, why bother? Like, what's the point of even pushing rating other than the gladiator? Like, the gladiator is really the only thing that I see people actually really want to push for, because it's such a great milestone to achieve. Talking about the whole gladiator situation, it also makes me question why there isn't like a dynamic cutoff for that. So if you look at like all of the seasons in every single expansion, the gladiator there's been a certain number of gladiators every season, and every season it's been different. And so that makes me wonder why, like, well, if a different number of people are playing the season every time, why don't they just have a fixed set of number of people that can hit gladiator, and so that they can, like, Blizzard knows what the ratings for gladiator should be, right? They have all this data. They know how many people hit it every single season. So if they have a number in mind of like how many people should be hitting it, why don't they just dynamically change that to adjust for the number of people that are playing every single season? It just doesn't make any sense, because like season 1, there was, I don't know, I think it was like 600 to 800 people or something like that hit gladiator. I'm probably wrong on that number, but it was very fucking low. There was like 5,000 or something in the last season of Shadowlands. Again, I'm probably wrong on that number, but like that was the disparity. There was a huge difference in the number of people that hit gladiator. And so it's like, why don't they do a dynamic change so that way it entices more people to want to try for it? Because everyone saw like how impossible it was, so no one wanted to push for it. And gladiator was like the only thing that people actually wanted to push for. And then the different brackets, like outside of 3v3, 2v2, RBG, like there's no reason to do those at all. There's like there's nothing unique in those. It's just if you want to play those games, that's it. There's there's nothing else to it. And then those also have their own balancing issues on top of that. So like for instance, here we have 3v3 arena. Here, since I play Elemental Shaman, I use Elemental Shaman as an example. You can see Elemental Shaman does pretty well, you know, relatively in 3v3 arena. I'm looking at the top 5,000 here. This is on the Drusvara website. But if I go to 2v2, boom, I get knocked all the way down here. It's just, there's such a huge disparity between 2v2 and 3v3 arena, and nothing's really accounted for. And this doesn't really matter because no one wants to play 2v2 anyways, because again, there's just no incentives to want to do that. But I mean, there's if people actually wanted to play 2v2, it would still have issues, is what I'm trying to say. I think this point is kind of big too. Gearing. So it's gotten better in Dragonflight, for sure. It's definitely better and easier than it ever was, but I feel like it's still an issue. So there's a few different reasons why it's an issue. One is like you still have to get enchants, gems, and like crafted gear in order to be like perfectly viable in PvP. And I feel like that's just, you know, it's kind of a nuisance. It's kind of a gatekeeping thing, but you know, not really a big deal. But in like season 1, it's like the best necklace you could get was like the elemental lariat, and in order to get like a tier 3 of that necklace, you had to invest like a shitload of fucking money. And again, this goes back to the WoW token thing of, well, I could just buy this necklace and just be ahead of everybody else instantly if I could just buy a WoW token with real money and just get this necklace. And so, you know, it just brings up a whole nother list of issues of like, why do we even have to gear up in competitive PvP anyways? Like, I understand wanting to use like your gear to show like an advantage or something in like battlegrounds, unranked PvP, brawls, whatever, stuff like that, duels, outside world PvP. I get that. But why in competitive PvP, where people actually are trying to push ranking and show skill, do you still have to gear up and there's people getting an advantage in the competitive scene because of things like the WoW token? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why people are allowed to have an advantage like that in a competitive PvP game mode where you're supposed to be able to showcase your skill. But again, since you can get things like add-ons and stuff, there's all sorts of different ways people can get an advantage right now. But that's just the overall bigger topic at hand of this is why WoW PvP is dying. So the next thing on my list are alts. Now, this isn't as big of a deal, but it's still, you know, it's another issue. It's, you know, whenever like tuning changes happen or they do something to your class that you don't like, and now, oh, maybe you're not having fun with, you know, Demo Warlock, for instance, and you want to try a different class out or a different spec. Well, now you have to re-gear a whole nother character. And usually like the honor tokens, the things where you buy in your main character, you get the honor and you buy the token, you send it over to your alt to gear them up. Those usually aren't available right away at the release of the expansion. So usually like right now, I think season 2, they added it finally. I haven't played it all in season 2, so I'm not really sure, but I think they added it. But it's like, why did it take this long for it to be in the game? I just don't understand, because it's like everyone had all this extra honor and it was just sitting there. You're just buying these useless boxes, which don't really give you anything. And it's just another thing that should have been in the game at the start. And going in hand with the class tuning, this allows a lot of people to want to reroll to like the flavor of the month class. Now, I'm not really sure how you combat something like this. It's just something that the player base naturally does, is like, look at 10.1.5 when Ret Paladins were gods. That's all you fucking saw were Ret Paladins. Every single match you played had at least one Ret, probably 2 or 3 Rets, let's be honest. And it was just ridiculous. But like the flavor of the month stuff doesn't entirely fall in the player base's hands, because like if Blizzard actually just tuned shit properly and didn't let the Ret Paladins get away with this ridiculous god mode for like an entire month or, you know, plus, then so many people wouldn't have re-rolled to the flavor of the month class in the first place if they actually kept shit balanced and didn't take forever. My next point is the community itself. So the community in any video game can be pretty toxic at times, especially the PvP community. Anything that results in you having to play against other real-life players will lead to more toxicity. But Blizzard doesn't really combat this anyway. So like, people that harass you, send you messages all the time. I see this all the fucking time. And I used to see this all the time back when like I used to do PvP in Burning Crusade. It has never changed. It's the same amount of harassment I feel like I've seen so long ago. These people aren't getting banned, and when they do get banned, they just make a new account. It's really bad, and it takes so long for them to actually get banned when they are harassing people, and it's just kind of a joke. But some other things that the community does is like gatekeeping through like the metas, like, oh well, Ret Paladins are doing really good right now, so I only want a Ret Paladin in my group, and we're like every single team is going to be running Ret Paladin because they want to do like double melee cleave or something with a arms warrior. Or people are just impatient, like they'll invite you for one game and say you guys don't do very well, like one game, and you get kicked out, or they just disbanded or something. And it's like people just aren't willing to try with a person for very long. And these are just things that the community does, but it's also because Blizzard just has so many time wasting mechanisms in place right now, or just things that have naturally gone to time wasting, like queue times, for instance, that people just don't want to wait anymore, because people just want to keep playing the game and trying to get as many wins in as possible. But then there's also things like the rating system that's kind of skewed, which I'm going to get to in a little bit here, but it's just people have a hard time wanting to give people a chance. So my next point has to do with like PvP areas. So as you can see here, like this is the Dragonflight PvP area, but this is it. This is there's nothing else. There's nothing else for WoW PvP players. And as you can see here, there's like one person in the back here just getting some honor gear. They're probably like playing Battlegrounds, but no one's fucking here. There's no reason to stay here other than the PvP dummies, and it's really sad to see. Like no one's dueling, no one's engaging in like conversation or whatever about PvP. No one's like, look at the Dalaran sewers, for instance. Like not only were there things that you could do for like world PvP reasons, but there was like a huge dueling area. There was a lot of conversations going on. There was some just fun activities you could do for WoW PvP, and it's just sad that there's nothing like that for PvP players right now. It's like the most there is the war mode stuff that sends you off to go kill players to get bloody tokens and come back and just exchange the currency, but that's it. And that leads me in my next point about the war mode system. So why I don't understand why in BFA Blizzard seemed to have started like innovating on some stuff. They had like the war supply crates and whatnot, and I used to see people all the time, especially in Nazjatar, because there's a reason to get these war supply crates. And there was tons of people all the fucking time that would go to these supply crates, and there would be non-stop PvP as like right after that. And even during the events where you had to capture the flags, like there was a ton of people during those, and they were super fun and engaging and rewarding. And then they just stopped doing those, and I don't know why. It's like this bloody token system is kind of good because it actually rewards you for wanting to engage in WoW, you know, world PvP, but it's not that rewarding because you can just get your conquest gear. It is at like the beginning of a season, but after that it just falls off kind of hard. It's nice for people that like really want to engage in the PvP world and like just non-stop do PvP, but it's like if I'm outside the arena or the battlegrounds, I'm just trying to get my fucking my campaign or my quest done so I can continue doing my PvP, because Blizzard forces you to do shit like that in order to PvP. Which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad thing, but it's just what you have to do. And so the last thing I want to do is worry about a group of 5 people flying down and killing me while I'm trying to do this task that I already don't want to do. I just want there to be more reasons to engage in world PvP, more reasons to get people to come together and be part of a PvP community without like all this toxicity. I really wish Blizzard would get better about all the banning and stopping the harassing and whatnot of people. I actually got into an argument on Twitter. I saw this guy posted talking about how like the toxicity of the PvP community is the reason, like one of the biggest reasons why people don't engage in PvP, and I just think that's wrong. I think it is a reason, but I don't think it's like a huge reason why people aren't PvPing. I think it's stuff like the reward structure, the add-on requirements, the gatekeeping, stuff like that. Obviously the toxicity and the harassment is a problem and needs to be addressed, but I don't think it's like this huge sweeping problem that is overtaking the PvP community. This also goes into the next point about cheating and botting. So like what I was talking about, Blizzard needs to be better at stopping people harassing others and messaging them and stuff. They also need to get better at the cheating and the botting. So for instance, the kick macro that has been going around for a while, or like the elemental shaman botting shit that's been going on for a while. I don't understand why these people aren't getting permanently banned, and then like why it's taking so long for them to get banned, because it's like these are all input keys that Blizzard can see and they can monitor these directly. So why is it taking so fucking long? I saw this so much during season 1 and they didn't do anything about it. And then in season 2 it's like, oh, they have this huge sweep of bans going through, but it's like, well, they already fucked everyone up for season 1. That, you know, people might have stopped playing because of these botters and these cheaters, and it's like it's too it's too late. It's not quick enough. They need to get better at this stuff. It just really seems like Blizzard doesn't care. So queue times are also a huge problem, at least for me, because I play DPS. If you're a healer, you basically get insta queues, but that's because there's just no healers wanting to play, which tells you about a bigger problem again. So if no healers are wanting to play, why is that? Well, there's no healer incentive, there's no healer rewards. I saw they added like a healer box for season 2, but it gave you like I think it just gave you like a few hundred gold or something. I don't know what it was, but I just remember it was like super stupid. And then like the rating changes that you get. If you look at like healer rating changes for like solo shuffle, sometimes you can win like 4 or 5 games and get like 0 rating because like the other healer that you got paired with was for some reason like 500 rating lower than you. And even though like the MMR of the entire lobby is at your level, this one healer just got put in there because there's no other healers queuing right now. And so Blizzard needs to do a better job at getting healers incentives to wanting to play and getting players incentives for wanting to play healers. I think it was something like 10 times the amount of DPS are queuing than healers is what I saw last time. I don't know how this has changed since. It might have even gotten worse. But that's just how many more DPS are queuing than healers, and it's just ridiculous. Another reason why I think that a lot of healers just aren't wanting to play is because of the amount of CC in the game. So I'm gonna have a real hot take here. I think that there is way too much fucking CC in the game. I don't care. I think there's a lot of hardcore PvP players that like to say it brings a lot of skill into the game, like RMP, for instance. Having like a perfect CC setup and then being able to kill someone is like a good play. I just think that's fucking boring. Like if I was that player where I just got like kidney shot, blind, sab, cheap shot, you know, I got my weapon stole. It's just so fucking annoying and boring. I just don't see how people want that more in the game. And I always see like this oscillation of like when there's too much CC, people complain about it, and when there's not enough CC, people still complain about it. And I like to lean more on the less CC side of things. I obviously don't want people just getting away with kills because they can one-shot you versus using CC, but I also think that having too much CC is a bad thing as well. I honestly feel like sub-rogues, or just rogues in general, are horrible for the game. I feel like they should be reworked because like a sub-rogue's entire existence in this game is literally just not letting you play the fucking game. That's what they're designed to do, that's what they're meant to do, and that's exactly what they do. Not only do they have like this insane burst of being able to one-shot you, but they can also just lock you down for an entire game. And it's just so fucking boring, and I hate playing through that. Anytime I get like triple CC'd, I just want to alt F4 the game. Because it's like, all I want to do is play the game. And these stupid fucking rogues just won't let me play the game. And it's not just rogues. Every class in general, I think, has too much CC. I think it definitely needs tuned down. There needs to be way less CC in the game. But that's something that's it's gonna feel bad when players lose it. But I think if they collectively do it for every single class at one big time, it might make things better. But they'd also have to probably tune down a lot of the damage. Otherwise, classes would just be like one-shotting again because they'd just be able to get away with so much more burst without getting CC'd. So it's gonna have to be a huge change, and I just don't know if that's ever gonna happen. But this is a huge reason why I think a lot of people don't want to play, especially healers, because as a healer, you just get CC'd the entire fucking game. And I don't see how that could be fun. I never tried healing in competitive PvP for that reason, because I think it's boring. I think it would be so unfun to play, just getting CC'd the entire fucking game. The reason I say I think all the classes need to be adjusted is because of a thing of class homogenization. So all the classes have like slowly over time gotten closer and closer together. Every single class has like a stun. Every single class has like a CC, like a sheep or something. They have an immunity. Like for instance, as a shaman, an elemental shaman, I just got an immunity in the last season. And I was so fucking shocked to see that, because we've never in the history of this game had an immunity, and then all of a sudden in one patch it's just like, oh, here's an immunity. It's like, what the fuck? I think a reason why a lot of PvP players are just upset with Blizzard is because they're just so slow to act too. So I mentioned before, like the 10.1.5 rep paladins and how they were just like immortal fucking gods, and they were just one-shotting everybody, surviving anything that was thrown at them. It's like it took over a month for them to fix that problem, and it wasn't even like fully fixed. It's just people stopped playing it because they saw like all these nerfs, and they're just like, oh, it's not flavor of the month anymore. I'm gonna go play something else that sounds good, even though it was still really fucking good. It's just like, why does something like that take a month after non-stop feedback of, hey, this is still broken, they're getting away with this? I saw so many rep paladins where they went up like a 1,000 rating in a fucking week because of how strong they were. Like 1,000 rating. These people were going from like 1,800 to 2,800 rating because of these rep paladin changes. It was actually insane how strong they were. Not only that, but then like there was the whole thing with like the rating inflation. So 3v3 rating was so bad because no one was playing 3v3, because solo shuffle was the new thing. Everyone wanted to play it, which I support. I love solo shuffle. I think it's just a better mode in general, and I can get to that in a minute. But it's the fact that 3v3 rating inflation was so low, and so many people were talking about it for so long, me included, but it just took them so long to initiate the inflation to get the 3v3 rating up there, because no one wanted to play it, because it felt like it was impossible to get to 2,400. And even when they did make that change for the 3v3 rating and even the solo shuffle rating, I said it wasn't going to be enough. I said that they needed to have like a huge initial burst of rating to get people, you know, to get them up there to actually want to start initially engaging in it, but they did it like gradually over time, just faster. And I thought that was still bad, and it ended up still being bad. And I just don't understand how they have all of this data in front of them, and they can see all these numbers, and they can see that that's still not enough people compared to like the previous seasons that are hitting Gladiator, and they're just doing nothing about it. It's like, you literally have these numbers that show you like 1,800 versus 5,000 in like Shadowlands that were hitting Gladiator. Just bump up the fucking numbers. It's not that hard. So I just mentioned how I support the solo shuffle stuff. The reason I think solo shuffle is just so much better of a mode is, one, because you can just queue without having to fucking look for a group or having to find people. Two, you actually have to think in real time about what's happening, because you can't communicate with your team. So you actually have to like see what they're doing. Even as a DPS player, you have to like look at your other DPS party member and see like, oh, is he in danger? Maybe I should CC someone and help him out, or should I like focus on just doing damage? You have to think about what's going on, because he can't just tell you like, oh, I have my defensives on. But that also brings in the problem of like needing more add-ons, because now it's like you need Omni CC in order to see like, okay, what cooldowns did my party member already use? Is he going to be okay? It's like, oh shit, he had wall, but he didn't use wall. What an idiot, and I'm gonna harass him. So I do like solo shuffle more. It has some issues that need worked on, which I don't know if Blizzard's going to work on it, but like the healer stuff. But an issue with solo shuffle is something like the queue times again, because it just takes so long to get into a queue that a lot of people are not wanting to play solo shuffle anymore because of how long it takes to even get into a game. It was taking like an hour in season 1 to play a game, because there was just so much more DPS than healers. And it gets worse as you get higher rated. But I love solo shuffle because there's also like a diversity of classes and specs that you can see. So there's not really like this meta gatekeeping that you can get in like 3v3, where it's like, oh, you're an outlaw rogue, so nobody wants you now because you're just doing bad, or like Demo Lock or something after they just had all those changes. It's like, well, no one's gonna want you because you're just gonna get face rolled the whole time, and you're just gonna lose them rating. Doesn't matter how good you are, they're just a poor spec right now. Solo shuffle doesn't really have that problem, because you get who you get. There's no like, oh, I want this person or that person. It's just a dice roll. The problem that can happen though is, like, for me, like, I'm an elemental shaman. If I get into a full melee lobby, that fucking sucks. So there are issues like that. Or if you're like a melee and you go into a full caster lobby, that fucking sucks. So there are issues where it's a problem, but overall I think it's just better. My next point are racial abilities. So these are kind of minor. These just kind of play a hand in like the upper brackets, but I still feel like it's just an issue of like, why, you know, why does something like the race I choose play a factor in how well I do in PvP? Because like if I play a stealth class like a rogue or a feral druid, like playing a night elf is going to be huge for my class, because now I have like an extra stealth in case I can't get into stealth because I'm in like combat, or I have like a dot on me or something, or you know, whatever. But it's just like, why does something like this exist in the game? It doesn't make any sense. It should be an equal playing field across all levels. My next point is there's just too much going on in the game. You know, with all the add-ons you have popping up, just the rapid fire abilities that are going on, all the CC getting thrown out. It's so easy to make such a huge mistake because of how fast everything is going and flying in your face. I love fast gameplay and I love instant reactions to things, but there comes a point where it's just too much. It's too overwhelming. The game is just so fucking brutalized with just bloat. There's just too much in the fucking game, and it's very, very overwhelming for new players. It's like, I don't understand how someone new to the game would ever want to even play after watching PvP. Like, I don't know how someone could watch a game and go, oh yeah, I want to do that for sure. It's just so stressful. It takes up so much time and energy having to non-stop stare at your screen because like you missed that one small fucking thing and all of a sudden your life is over. You know, like look at Earthen Wall for Resto Shamans, for instance. If he uses that and you don't see that visual effect, which you could barely fucking see anyways, and you don't see that, well, you're gonna be taking a lot more damage from not standing inside of that. I should have made that a whole nother point, is like visual effects, but it's just so bad how much you have to pay attention to the game right now. It's like if you take your eyes off the screen for half a millisecond, everything can just change instantly. And it requires so much learning in the game because of this. Like there's just so many abilities, so many modifiers, so many visual effects. There's just so many things going on that if you really want to learn how to play the game, you have to spend a lot of fucking time learning. And another thing that I should have made on the list is just the PvP modifier stuff. I don't understand how, like when you go to a talent or something, like if I'm looking at what would be a good talent, for instance? Oh, like Magma Chamber, because this is one I remember that they changed. They reduced this by 50% in PvP, so it's only like 1.5%. Why isn't there like a description on here showing what this does in PvP? Because now you have to remember all these changes that they make. Well, what happens if you skip a patch or something like I did? Like I haven't played it all in season 2 and I haven't been reading any of the patch notes, so I have no idea if any of this shit even changed in PvP or not. I have no fucking idea. I should be able to look at a spell and see whether or not this does more or less in PvP. I mean, it's always probably going to be less, but I should know if it's different, so I can actually, you know, like plan my abilities out. Like if this actually says 3%, I could be like, oh wow, this is actually huge, I might use this. But if this is reduced by like 80% in PvP, it'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to use that or not, because that's going to not do very much in PvP. I should be able to know that. So WoW is an old game. I mean, it came out in 2004. I played it when it came out in 2004, and so it's like 19 years old. And ever since it came out, there's been like almost no innovation in this game in PvP. Like solo shuffle was a huge thing they did. They kind of did like some brawls, which I think are fun. I mean, the RBG I don't think was there at the beginning. And so other than that, there like really hasn't been anything innovative about PvP. It's just been, you do your arenas and that's about it. There's no events or anything that go on. You know what's funny is that I've seen more events come from the community of PvP itself than actually Blizzard doing anything about PvP. You know, like these Flarkness tournaments, or like OTK doing like their hardcore tournaments and stuff. It's just, I love to see that the community is so much more active, but it's funny just like how rare you see something like that from Blizzard. Like it's always just like the AWC or like the Mythic Plus Big Push or something. That's like the only time they ever do events, and I just wish they would do more stuff like that. And not only like these huge like actual real life events, but like even in-game events. Like, you know, you have like the Halloween event. Why can't they do like PvP events like that, just on bigger scale or something? They have like the arena in like Stranglethorn Vale or something, but I would just love to see way more stuff. And like, why not the Brawlers Guild? Like, why can't they do some like PvP stuff with the Brawlers Guild? I don't know. I would just like to see some more innovation and some new stuff to actually get the PvP community engaging in something new and different, because that's what drives people to want to actually begin PvP in the first place, is they see something new and exciting and they get interested. They don't like to see all this bloated shit, and that's not going to get anyone to want to play. And because WoW is such an old game, people have just naturally left the game. And this isn't like at the fault of Blizzard at all. I mean, obviously, like, players leaving might be because of Blizzard, but the longer a game is out, people are just naturally going to leave without Blizzard doing anything. And when these people leave, you know, when the player count goes down after the hype is over for a game, even like in a singular expansion, when an expansion comes out, naturally the natural progression of the expansion is that the player count is going to go down. People are just going to play less, and when there's less people playing overall, people can't engage with other people as much, and then they feel the need to like stop playing. And so just naturally people will quit playing PvP because there's just less people to engage with. And this goes back to like the problem of like the UI system of trying to actually find people to play with, and having like a dedicated PvP area to actually find players of like, hey, you want to try some 3v3 together or something? And you can't do that in today's WoW, and it's just kind of sad. The last point on my list, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other points that I'm gonna think of later, but I'm just trying to get all the really big ones out there because these are what I've seen and felt a lot throughout the years. This isn't just a recent problem. These are all things that I've just accumulated over the years of playing WoW PvP. So the last thing on my list are just noobs, and noobs are actually very important to WoW PvP, believe it or not, because they make the good players feel even better. They make decent players feel better. They just make everyone feel better about playing the game, because you feel like a fucking god when you run into a noob and you just destroy them. Obviously, they're not going to feel very good, but they need to be in the game, so you need reasons for noobs to want to be in the game. So one reason noobs play in the game is for like the 1800 transmog set. A lot of people want to try to push for that transmog set because maybe they're not really interested in PvP, maybe they just want to transmog farm. So I think also having even some lower bracketed or lower tiered rewards are also nice for the game, because they want to encourage more people to just play PvP in general. When you have all these noobs playing, it helps lift the ladder, and Blizzard actually even talked about this when they were talking about the 3v3 inflation and the reason why they needed to do that, which again, I feel like they should have done a lot more for that. But they were right in the fact that these noobs help lift up the ladder, because when you have all this huge influx, like in Solo Shuffle, this huge influx of new players playing because they could just instantly queue up, they don't have to wait for anyone. Well, there's a lot of noobs in there now, and these noobs help raise the ladder up. So like the ratings were a little bit more inflated than 3v3 was. And so if it also felt better too. So then when Solo Shuffle feels better to play, because it's like, oh my god, I'm actually getting a higher rating than I thought, or I'm pushing like way higher than I thought I could. This also encourages more players to play, and people just have a lot more fun doing that. So a lot of these things that I have on my list are just these are things that can change. There's no reason most of these things on my list can't be fixed or can't be changed to be better or to be addressed. And that's why I'm making this video, is because I just feel so sad at the state of WoW PvP. It is by far the best PvP in any MMO I've ever played, and I hear other people that have played way more MMOs than me say that WoW PvP is also the best. I just love, again, that instant snappiness. I love the instant, like, if I click Flame Shock, that motherfucker has fire on him, and it's ticking away already. I love that. There's no other better game, I think, that does PvP better than WoW in an MMO or RPG style game. It's just so sad to see something that did something so right, just let it fall apart. I just don't understand why. Everyone loved WoW PvP back in the day, and they just let it fall apart. They didn't give it any care. You know, it's like they had a beautiful plant and they just refused to water it. Let me know what you guys think about the video. Let me know if there's anything you guys think that I forgot or that I left out of the video that also irritates you, or that you think is a big problem with the WoW PvP. Really sad to see the game in the state that it is now. Even, you know, PvE players that leave the game are bad for the game, because just the less overall players there are in general, people are just gonna keep leaving more and more. So I hope PvE gets better. I hope the PvP gets better. I hope this expansion announcement at BlizzCon is going to be fucking amazing and knock it out of the park. Because if it doesn't, and there's no like big promises for WoW PvP, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna wait until BlizzCon and see what happens. And if there's nothing that seems like it's gonna change WoW PvP at all, I don't know if I'm even gonna want to play it, because it's just gonna be the same thing again. Maybe at the beginning it'll, you know, have a nice influx of players, but that won't last long if they don't do anything. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about all this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.